In this video, I'm going to help you implement your core values not only into your company, but also your culture across subs, employees, customers, and everybody that comes in contact with you and your mission. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Claudio, owner of WinRate Consulting and host of the Big Stud Podcast. Core values are a huge part of the success of a mission. It's ultimately the guidance system, the GPS that helps you navigate, are you or are you not operating within integrity to who you want to be? This video is not going to be about how to create core values. That video is right here. If you want to check that out, I shot that video a few months ago, but this one's going to be specific about how to implement them into your company and routine. So the first thing you want to do is document them. So this right here is a image that we created. So I'm really big, and I talk about in that video, of using words to help describe the core values. So ours are communicate proactively, operate with a help first mentality, appreciate everyone's time, continually evolve, and have a championship mindset. It spells coach, C-O-A-C-H. It helps you put it into a way that allows you to create images like this, allows you to create outlines like this one, I'm gonna get into here in a second. But ultimately that allows you to allow people around you to understand them better, absorb them better, get to know them better. So having some sort of image that becomes something you hand out or give out can be really valuable in the process of getting people to see, understand, and engage with what it is you're trying to say. But there's two very, very key parts, in my opinion, about getting them implemented into your culture, whether that's internal or external. One is you have to talk about them all the time. My opinion is if you and your culture and your audience are not tired of hearing about them, you're probably not talking about them enough. Even to the point, so we have events and we create these playbooks for our events for when our clients show up. And even in this, I have our core values listed so they know the expectations that we have of them to represent our values. So if you have customers, vendors, part of your vendor package agreement should include your core values. Part of your sales proposals should include your core values. Not only will it differentiate you from other companies that don't have core values, it'll help your customer, your vendor, your supplier, your whoever understand what you're going to expect from them and what they can expect from you. Obviously, core values have to be utilized for this to work, but we're going to assume you have them and they're already part of your culture. This is a way to get them even deeper ingrained into the overarching engagements and relationships that you have. So talk about them all the time. They should be part of your office art, like pictures, walls, whether you want to do graffiti or just pictures like this that we create to hand out to every one of our employees as a more 8x11 put on your desk type thing. We have a lot of virtual employees, so we just gave them this as something they can make as their background or put on their desk at home. Make it part of your contracts, like in our employee and in our customer contracts. Part of the core values are there, just talked about all the time. Consistency in that allows people to understand that not only is it important, but it'll help them subconsciously remember them and make it part of their decision making. But one of the most impactful parts of this, specifically internally with your company, especially if these are new core values that have not been relayed before, or maybe they've never been relayed effectively, maybe they're not new core values, never relayed effectively, is bullet points. And what bullet points are, if you look at this, and we'll get this, I'll get this popped up somewhere in the screen, is what does it look like to represent that core value based on my interpretation of them, my perspective of them. When you give, communicate proactively is going to look different to every person based on their perspective of what they believe that means. I see something like integrity and honesty and belief and teamwork. Those are great core values, but everybody's going to interpret them differently based on their experience and background. So having the bullet points, and specifically for communicate proactively, it's set proper expectations, it's plan so problems can be solved proactively, communicate when expectations change, and taking ownership and accountability of one's own tasks. That's communicate proactively. Operate the help first mentality is uncover and solve problems as a top priority, a no sales approach, look for opportunities to add value, and give without expectations. I'm not going to read all those, but that's an example of some of the bullet points. To take this even further, having bullet points per position inside your company allows everybody on that team to understand how their role in the machine, how their role in the mission aligns with the overarching values. So if you have production manager or salesperson or operations or whatever, laborer, truck driver, you can take your core values and specifically outline what does it look like to represent that value in that person's position. So if I use Cooper, my new videographer, I have not done this for him because I didn't think I needed to, because he's been a part of my culture for 3 years. I kind of poached him from my other videographer. Love you, Ryan. It was a mutual agreement, but he understands it, so I didn't do that for him. But if these were new core values, I help a lot of our customers implement core values in their company. Everybody needs to know what it looks like to represent those values in each position. So communicate proactively. What does that look like for a salesperson specifically? What does it look like for a receptionist specifically? What does it look like for your sales manager, production manager, CFO, accountant, whatever? Even down to the customer. What does it look like to represent your core values as one of your customers? You know, how are they showing up? How are they communicating? How are they like living up to the values that you operate by? And ultimately it will differentiate you extremely, but what it really gives you is the power to hold people accountable. I talk about performance improvement plans and accountability to the standard all the time. When you have this objective measurement tool, it's not like Mike thinks Cooper's doing a bad job. It's, hey, Cooper, you're not communicating proactively in this situation, or you're not operating the health first mentality in this situation because of this bullet point. The specific behavior, activity, or mindset is the bullet point that you're trying to course correct or coach towards. And so, coach, ironically, but those bullet points allow you to have a standard that's objective. It's not you versus you. It's not opinion versus opinion. It's activity versus standard. This objective third-party standard that we've agreed to, because you signed the contract, whether you're an employee, a customer, a vendor, whatever, you agree these are the standards you're gonna operate by. I think we can both agree you're not living up to this, and it becomes more of a constructive conversation than it does become a performance or opinion or accusation style conversation. Because I say, hey, Cooper, you're not really communicating well. He's like, what do you mean, bro? I'm doing everything you told me to do, but I didn't give him specific examples or specific guidelines. It's hard to hold that person accountable. So implementing them and talking about them and putting them on the wall and putting them in your playbooks or putting them in your contracts is great. But if you don't utilize them as a standard setting tool to consistently push your machine back into the lanes you want them operating on so that you as proficiently and efficiently get to the outcome you're looking for, it's just gonna be very difficult. You're gonna have outliers, you're gonna have conflict, you're gonna have issues internally because people are operating to the standard at different levels, because there is no way to hold them accountable as a whole. So assuming you have core values, or if you're not, check out the other video, but if you do the bullet points per core value that represent the behavior, the mindset, the attitude, the talk track, or the expectations to represent that core value, do it for the company as a whole as a first step. What I just read you are mine. And Cooper, we can get these popped up somehow in there. Zoom in. Does that help? Can you walk it over here? Here you go. These, you're probably gonna be able to see those at all, are you? We'll find out. But you have them for the company as a whole, which is what these are. But I also suggest going a layer deeper and get a list made by, position type. Maybe not every employee's not gonna have a different list, but like all salespeople should have the same list. All leaders should have the same list. All operations should have the same list. Getting very clearly on like different levels of labor, right? You have your basic, you have your apprentice, you have your junior, you have your senior, you have all, like different journey levels throughout that process as well. Every one of those levels should have a different list to show what it takes to be at that level. And doing that, not only internally, but externally with vendors, suppliers, customers even, it allows you to maintain accountability to the standards your machine needs to operate at to get to the next level. So those are a few different ideas, a few different things you can do. Obviously visually create it, put it a part of these things, physically printed in things like playbooks, meeting agendas, make it a part of continual recognition and accountability based on the bullet points that we mentioned. And I would suggest going a layer deeper and creating a different bullet point list by core values. Same core values, don't get this mistaken. Same exact core values, different bullet points describing what it looks like to represent that value in that specific position will allow you to maintain the standard significantly more effectively throughout both. And we even use it in our family. Like we have a similar core value list for the family. Like what does it look like for our kids to represent the values? We're looking for us as parents to represent the values. Because like my core values are in WinRate, they're in a Champion Shoes, our nonprofit, they're in our personal life. I don't think you should, people argue with me on this, like, should you have business and personal core values? Like, should the list be different? Sure, but why? Like, why would you want to operate differently or have different standards in different aspects of your life? I don't think that's a good way to do it. I can see the pros and cons of both sides, and I can see where your business core values may be differently worded than your personal core values, but I think from a standpoint of being able to utilize the bullet points to describe specifically in that situation what it looks like to represent these. I can tell you right now, like my kids know the core values. They know, and they get in trouble based on the core values. Like they get in trouble or they get appreciated or celebrated based on the core values. So they know them, and they're 7 and 4. And so I don't think it should be different, because then you have to operate by different rules in different environments, and I just don't like that, like personally. So take your own way, but you should absolutely have a similar standard in your personal life as you do in your professional life, for your family, for your spouse, for yourself. But get granular. Get very intentional with how you're delivering this information to make it as easy as possible to absorb it, so that you can get your entire machine operating at a different standard, which creates significantly more efficiencies, which ultimately allows you to grow faster. That might be the first time I said ultimately this whole video. Man, we are improving. That's I used to do like 17 times in a 45-second video. That's a high five. Ultimately is like one of those like filler words for me. Like and I use ultimately. Very annoying. But allowing you to create efficiency in your machine so that you can get the results you're looking for and enjoy it. One of the biggest reasons I see people start to hate their company or their life is because they don't like the standards and how they're being upheld around them. It creates animosity, it creates frustration, it creates negativity and depression and anxiety, and it creates an environment that you don't want to be in anymore. But you as the leader have the ability to control that by creating clear standards that you can hold everybody around you to. And doing that has made a massive impact on not just the employees I've attracted, but the customers I've attracted, the vendors I've attracted, and the audience I've attracted. People like you believe in what we do because the standard is very, very uniformly followed across all layers of the machine. So hopefully that helps. If not, comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know how we can help you. Look, we coach for a living. If you're still watching this, that means you care what we have to say. We coach one-on-one for this reason. We can give you very specific advice targeted on your specific problems based on your assets and your market and your environment. That's what we do. WinRateConsulting.com if you have questions on that, but reach out. Go to @WinRate Consulting on Instagram. Go to MikeClaudio.com if you want to learn more about me and across all the different things that we do. I'd love to connect with you. So reach out, let's connect so that I and my team can help you win fast and win often.